Due to the popularity of anime increasing all over the world, to the point where there are McDonald's ads that are anime inspired and collabs. Even right now, there's like a Hello Kitty Yu-Gi-Oh collab coming out over at McDonald's. I thought I'd do a couple top 10s for new people getting in anime for what they could enjoy. So let's start with Shonen Anime. So let's dive into my book here. Yes, I scooted over to the side because I'm going to show footage and do a lot of extra things. But we're going to start off with number 10, which is going to be probably the most controversial one on this list. And that's going to be Rono and Kenshin. Now, with those who don't know, the creator of Kenshin was arrested for CP. And it's a very long, complicated story. But this is the case of where you need to separate the artist from the art. Kenshin is about a roaming warrior who talks about his journeys, and you follow him on his journeys, and his name's Kenshin. He's very good with his sword, but he's vowed not to kill, to which he uses the back of his sword. So you follow him through these journeys. It's a good 90s classic anime, nothing too long. I think about 50 to 60 episodes, something that I believe every anime fan should watch. It is a staple, it has impacted a lot of people, kind of like how Akira has impacted a bunch of influence in the media world where it comes to cartoons, movies, etc. Kenshin has done the same thing. Number 9 on the list is going to be Kuroko No Basket. I fell in love with this. This is one of the few sports animes that I've actually sat through and watched all of it. The other ones are Haiku Prince of Tennis, and then Cinderella 9. There's like a couple other little ones, but this is one of the few that has caught my attention. It follows a little boy, Kuroko. Well, I say a little boy, he's in high school, but it follows his journey while joining this team to take them to the #1 spot in Japan for this high school basketball. You know, like kind of like how America has basketball, yet Japan does the same thing. It follows his journey, and throughout this, you see that they all have that he has a special ability that he can just disappear randomly in the middle court, and he focuses on passing. Well, the other schoolmates that he went through middle school with on their basketball team also have weird abilities. One's good at dunking, one's good at blocking, one's a good all-rounder, one can copy other people. It follows these crazy good athletes and follows Taiga, who came from America to come and play basketball in Japan. He came back home to Japan after like 5-6 years in America to come play basketball. It follows the journey and the underdog story of these guys, and it's fantastic. Number 8. Dr.Stone. It follows a boy Senku who gets frozen in time from this mysterious green light and stones the rest of the world, and he fast forwards to 3,000 years. He was able to keep his mind awake and get out of the stone, where he starts slowly rebuilding, the civilization we used to know and love, while dealing with these new world conflicts, such as the people that somehow survived and passed on their generations to dealing with, okay, I need electricity, I need to build tools. He remembers how to do everything from the ground up while bringing his friends back to life and finding other people along the way. And it's a very good action-paced, very mentally stimulating show, and it shows you actual science stuff. In the TV show, it'll go over things, and even in the manga, it'll go over how this is supposed to work, how things react with everything. It's very good. It's very good for even like younger people to start getting into, maybe like middle school, especially if they have a angling for science. It's very good, and it's a very good read, and I really highly recommend it. And I believe the manga is done now, and the anime is still ongoing. Number 7 is going to be SpyxFamily, and it is one that is coming out right now. It is still ongoing. The manga is still ongoing. Everything's still ongoing. You can think about it as anime Cold War. You can compare it to the Cold War that happened here in our world, in our timeline, whatever you want to call it. You follow Lloyd, who works for one side of the Cold War, and you follow Yor, who works for the other side of the Cold War. Well, Lloyd needs to go undercover, get a kid into the school, so he adopts Anya, who has this telekinesis. She can read minds and do a bunch of other things. So you follow these 3 people that end up becoming a fake family, and their adventures and all the stuff that happens with Anya at school, Lloyd with work, Yor with her work, which she's also an assassin, fun fact. And you just follow the family, and there are different adventures and the adventures they have together. It's wholesome at times, very action-packed at other times, and it's just a very good action show. Number 6, Fate Zero. This is a whole complicated series, but one that I really think people should at least sit down and watch the very first one that is supposed to be first, Fate Zero. So essentially you have these magicians, these mages, that can use special items. So say if I have an item that I'm famous with, my hat here, they can use a certain spell and bring me back as a servant. Depending on, there's a bunch of different classes, from Saber, Archer, Lancer, Berserker, there's a whole bunch of different things. They would come back as these heroes, and they would fight for them in this war for the Holy Grail. Fate Zero is the very beginning of this series, I would say. And there's a bunch of spin-offs, but the main ones are Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Work. There's a bunch of movies. Very fun. There's a phone game. Very action-filled, very lore-intensive, and if you like world building, the Fate series does fantastic with world building, and it gives mostly historically accurate backgrounds. I mean, King Arthur wasn't a female, as far as we know of, at least. They do gender bend some people, but that, you know, it's anime, so they got to keep something to keep people back. But I highly recommend. I am a big fan of the Fate series. The phone game's fantastic. The whole series is fantastic. The light novel, the visual games, everything that they have put out, beautiful, and it's such a good story that people should get into. And if you get very confused about it, just look up how Giga does it, and he'll explain how Fate goes. Number 5, Gintama. This is one that is super big. This is a big undertaking, but every episode is its own thing for the most part, and then near the end of each series and throughout the show, there's like an underlying, like, I guess you would say, main story. But you follow Gintoki, who is this basically mercenary for hire, I guess it would be best to say. But he goes off and does all these weird adventures, parodies different shows, makes fun of itself. It's one of the best comedies there is. It has a bunch of different movies. It's highly regarded on my anime list. Most of the top 20, 30 is Gintama. There's so many different spin-offs, all the different seasons. This is a cult classic that everyone loves. And I highly recommend, especially if you want a good laugh with some action, this is definitely the place to go to. Highly, highly recommend Gintama. Number 4, World Trigger. This was a newer one that came out in post-teens of 2020. So like, well, not 2020. So like 2016, 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. This is what released. World Trigger is about 100 plus episodes. It's on its 4th season. The manga's doing pretty well. I don't think it's finished. I think it's still ongoing. The first 70 plus episodes is the first season. It follows Osamu, who's just this regular everyday guy who ended up being able to join this self-defense force that prevents these monsters from coming through these warp gates and trying to kill civilians. There was a mass event where they all just popped out of nowhere, to where the defense force essentially came out of nowhere with these special units and saved civilians. Well, they're taking anyone that has this ability to use these special weapons. Well, Samu's there. He has the bare minimum and is a C rank, which is kind of like the trainee, and can't go any higher because of his inner abilities and stuff. Well, it follows him, and then all of a sudden this strong guy out of nowhere, the white hair, comes in and zooms in and saves his life and saves other people. You follow these two and the underdog story of Osamu, from being a average everyday Joe to being one of the best strategists that you can come across, and learning his way and becoming part of the ranks and proving his worth. It's such a good story. Number 3, Samurai Champloo. One of the best soundtracks I have ever heard in anime. Hip hop with sword fighting, best thing you can come across. In Samurai Champloo, you follow the 3 main characters. I have to remember. Mugen, Fu, and Jin. I couldn't remember. It's been a while since I talked about them. It's such a good show. The soundtrack to this day is reminisced and still referenced to in other animes. People still use them for AMVs. People just put them on to listen to. The story is very solid and is very comparable to the people of Cowboy Bebop, because the guy who drew it also, just look into it. Is such a good show, and I really recommend people picking up these older classics and bringing them back and vitalizing them, because people need to understand what actually is good, what's mid, and what's bad. Number 2 on this list is going to be one that's people are upset that's number 2 and not number 1. It's Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now, when you're approaching this, I highly recommend you watch Full Metal, the original, then Brotherhood. That way you can appreciate what Brotherhood brought to the table. Full Metal was following the manga until it got ahead of the manga, then it started doing its own thing, including a CGI dragon, blah blah blah. Will say the Conqueror Shambhala movie, fantastic, highly recommend. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood followed the manga to a T. Well, after it was finished, gave you a very good conclusive story. You will cry a lot in this. I have cried a lot from Full Metal. I have cheered. I have enjoyed it. You follow Edward and Alphonse through the world of alchemy, their fumbles, their struggles, their past, and everyone around them. And at first you find out some characters you think are jerks, they actually end up being kind-hearted, and they have a lot of stuff they're trying to deal with and make better of the world too, just through their own way. It's so... Now, I have a couple of honorable mentions. Right now, at this time of recording, there's one called Solo Leveling. It's based off a manhwa. Highly recommend. I recommend Fairy Tail. It just has a lot of episodes and it can be overloading for a lot of people, so I highly recommend Fairy Tail if you get a chance. Kenshin, Mightiest Disciple. It's a very old one, about mid-2000s I believe it came out. Very good, and it's been making a rise out of nowhere, so I think people are starting to appreciate and make a comeback of it. Ace Attorney, based on a fantastic game series, and the anime is pretty good as well. Nizukoi, one of the best love stories I have come across, even though the anime kind of pulls your strings a little bit. Still recommend it, but I recommend you reading the manga. And number one is going to be YuYu Hakasho. I highly recommend YuYu Hakasho. It is one of those that every time I turn on that first episode, I cry, no matter what. The very first episode, our main character, Yusuke, ends up dying and passing on to the spirit world, but still hangs around, and he sees his funeral take place, sees his mother distraught, which he didn't think he cared. One of his friends one of his enemies, crying over him not passing away. You see these teachers that actually feel bad that they weren't able to care for him and, actually change his life for the better. And because of this, it changes a leaf for him. You follow him through this journey of being a spirit hunter, demon fighter, whatever you want to call it, along with his friends that he makes along the way, which kind of sounds like One Piece at the way. But the show is such a pinnacle and good point of shonen anime. People constantly refer to it as one of the classics and one of the original trio. An anime that people need to watch, and I really, really recommend it on the same level. Please watch YuYu Hakasho. And if you go, oh, I can't find it, it is all on YouTube for free legally. You can watch YuYu Hakasho. It is there. Go watch it. Spend a couple days watching. It's like 100+ episodes. You will not regret it. So let me know what you think about my personal top 10 shonen list. I'm going to do one for isekai and probably slice of life, and then we'll go from there. But let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you to the patrons, by the way, who do support me. You guys do make a difference. You help me out. You help me get my thoughts together. You help a lot of things. So love you all. Appreciate you all. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.